Somewhere between twilight and midnight, when the train tracks begin to hum with a voice not quite mechanical, a traveler hears a whisper from the empty seat beside him. The South Asian railways, lifelines that span across landscapes, histories, and human lives, carry more than passengers and freight. They also carry secrets. Not every journey ends at the station. Some continue, beyond reason, beyond time, and sometimes beyond life. These aren't just tales to scare children or urban myths whispered by chai vendors on cold platforms. These are encounters reported by railway workers, seasoned engineers, lone travelers, and in some cases, entire carriages full of passengers who swear they've seen or felt something they can never unsee or forget. Stories too bizarre to ignore, too chilling to dismiss. In the heart of South Asia, across India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Nepal, lie train routes that are more than just stretches of track. They are stages for the unexplained, apparitions that vanish in thin air, lights that flicker with no source, mysterious cries in empty bogies, trains that arrive with no passengers, or worse, trains that never should have arrived at all. But what makes these stories believable isn't just their frequency or the consistency in details. It's the emotion behind them, the fear in the voices recounting them, the trembling hands, the silence that follows after. Because how do you explain a train whistle in the dead of night, when no train is scheduled, or footprints on a dusty cabin floor when no one boarded? In this video, we uncover the most terrifying, most baffling, and most haunted train journeys from the shadowy corners of South Asia. You'll hear of spectral passengers who never leave, ghost stations that appear and vanish, and curses believed to have doomed entire lines. Each tale is soaked in history, folklore, and mystery.
Not all haunted journeys end when the wheels stop turning. Some ghosts follow you home. Some memories ride with you, tucked between the folds of your luggage, whispering through cracks in your mind. This is the truth about South Asia's haunted trains. Not just that they exist, but that they linger long after you've disembarked. Ask the traveler from Mumbai who rode through Bagankador and now keeps every light on at night. Ask the woman from Colombo who refuses to board any train after dark. Ask the ex-conductor from Lahore who speaks only in fragments now, eyes glassy, forever staring into an unseen tunnel. Their stories aren't over. Neither is yours. Because once you know about these places, something changes. Trains no longer feel like metal machines. They feel alive, breathing, watching. You notice the flicker of a cabin light where no one sits. You hear that faint footstep between cars when the corridor is empty. And worst of all, you begin to wait for it. That whisper, that stare, that cold hand on your shoulder when you're trying to sleep. Every route we've explored tonight is real. Every location can be found on a map. The train lines, the stations, the tunnels, they are open, running, functioning. Thousands pass through them every day, completely unaware. But a few feel it, just for a moment. A shift in air pressure, a shadow that moves against the motion of the train, a reflection that doesn't quite match their own. You may wonder why these spirits remain. Perhaps it's the violence that created them, or the sorrow left unresolved. Or maybe, just maybe, trains themselves are spiritual liminal spaces, always caught between departure and arrival, between life and death, between what we know and what we fear to learn. Tonight, we've journeyed through tracks soaked in tragedy and echoes. From the ghostly platforms of India to the vanishing carriages of Pakistan, from Sri Lanka's mournful tunnels to the whispering hills of Nepal, each story leaves a question behind. Are these tales simply folklore, or warnings disguised as legends? Before you decide, remember this. The next time you're on a late-night train in South Asia, listen closely. If the lights dim for just a second, if the wheels skip a beat, if the air grows still and your reflection flickers just slightly, don't panic. But don't ignore it either, because every haunted train begins the same way, with someone who didn't believe the stories. And every haunted story ends the same way, with someone who wishes they had. Deep within the jungles of Assam, where vines choke the hills and the mists coil like spirits around the trees, lies a railway line carved with pain, blood, and bone. The Lumding to Silchar section, Known for its engineering marvels and treacherous terrain, is also home to one of the most feared locations in Indian railway folklore, the Tunnel of a Thousand Eyes. Located between the Jatinga and Harangajao stations, this long, curved tunnel was constructed during the British era. Hundreds of workers, mostly tribal laborers, lost their lives in its creation, crushed by landslides, buried in cave-ins, or worse, starved during strikes when food supplies failed to reach them. Many were never given proper funerals. Their bodies remain entombed within the walls of the mountain they carved. Since the tunnel opened, strange events have plagued the route. Conductors report the sensation of being watched intensely, unblinkingly, as trains pass through. One engineer described the feeling as like 1,000 eyes burning holes through the train, all at once. Hence the name. What's worse, several accidents have occurred within the tunnel, with no technical explanation. Locomotives fail without cause. Brakes lock up. Emergency lights flicker, forming odd patterns. Passengers seated in cars adjacent to the tunnel often experience sudden nosebleeds, hallucinations, and unshakable feelings of dread. Some claim to see faces pressed against the windows, human but distorted. One viral photo taken by a tourist in 2017 allegedly shows dozens of eyes reflecting back from the tunnel wall, though experts say the photo has never been edited. Local tribes refuse to walk near the tunnel, especially at night. They believe the souls trapped inside are angry, jealous of the living who pass safely through. It's said that if you stare too long into the darkness of the tunnel, something stares back. And if you speak inside it, especially disrespectfully, you invite a curse that follows you home. In 2005, a young couple traveling from Silchar disappeared during their honeymoon journey. They were last seen entering the tunnel. Their belongings were found on the train, but not their bodies. Locals say they were taken by the watchers within, perhaps as offerings, perhaps as revenge. The railway has installed extra lights, CCTV cameras, and reinforced structural supports. Yet nothing has stopped the reports. Even when the tunnel is empty, surveillance footage often captures vague movement, slithering shapes, blinking lights, or something crouched and still, waiting in the corners. To date, no priest, scientist, or skeptic has been able to explain what happens in the Tunnel of a Thousand Eyes. But one thing is certain: when the train passes through, every passenger falls silent. Some close their eyes, others recite prayers. Because in that tunnel, silence isn't just respectful, it's survival. The Janakpur Junction in Nepal hums with the sound of daily life, bustling platforms, clanging wheels, shouting vendors. But when dusk falls, the tone changes. A strange quiet settles. Conversations lower, and those who remain begin to glance nervously at the shadows beneath the benches. Why? Because after sundown, the station becomes home to a sound no one can explain. A child's cry, echoing through the stillness, with no source and no end. The haunting began decades ago, after a train derailed during a storm just beyond Janakpur's northern track. Among the dead was a mother traveling alone with her infant son. When rescuers arrived, they found the mother crushed beneath steel. The child was never found. Some say he died, others say he wandered into the forest. But ever since, strange weeping has haunted the platform after dark. It's not an ordinary cry. Witnesses describe it as slow, rhythmic, more like a chant than weeping. It starts at one end of the platform, travels down the length of it, and ends at track 3, where the derailment occurred. Security cameras pick up the sound, but never any visible movement. Microphones record fluctuations in temperature and pressure whenever the crying begins. What makes this phenomenon deeply unsettling is how it affects those who hear it. Passengers report intense nausea, sudden migraines, and vivid hallucinations of train accidents, scenes they've never witnessed but describe in detail. Some even claim they've heard a child speak directly to them, asking to be taken home, though no child is present. Local authorities tried to ban entry to the station between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m., but protests from commuters forced them to lift the restriction. Now, warning signs in Nepali and Hindi advise travelers to keep headphones on, avoid standing near track 3, and never, under any circumstances, respond to the sound of crying. The station staff has their own rituals. At night, they light incense near the waiting room and avoid eye contact with the windows, where a small face sometimes appears in the reflection, pale, expressionless, and silently watching. Some staff members have quit after repeated encounters. One guard described seeing a toy train moving on its own across the ticket counter. Another claimed a child's hand tugged at his coat, only for it to vanish when he turned. Even the religious leaders brought to cleanse the station admitted something unnatural lingers. After hours of chanting and ritual fire, one priest reportedly collapsed, muttering, "He doesn't want to leave. He's still waiting." And so the weeping continues. To this day, late-night passengers at Janakpur report hearing the soft cries just as their train begins to depart. If you do, count yourself lucky if it fades, because if the sound gets louder and closer, it may already be too late. In the lush emerald highlands of Sri Lanka, the trains weave through misty hills and tea estates like threads of steel stitched across time. Tourists ride the iconic route between Kandy and Ella for its beauty. But few know the truth about Ella Station and the signal that glows red when no train is coming. It starts with a shiver, a strange chill that wraps around the bones as the train approaches the curve into Ella. The track seems untouched, yet the signal post flickers, red, 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 though no train is due. Engineers radio in to confirm, but the dispatcher insists the line is clear, and yet the light persists, as if warning of something not listed on the schedule. Rail workers have long whispered of the ghost train of Ella, a phantom engine that only appears in the reflection of the station window, never to the naked eye. They say it belongs to a derailed steam engine that plunged into a ravine during British colonial rule. The passengers, mostly tea plantation workers, were never recovered. The jungle swallowed the wreck. No memorials, no graves. Only the light remains. Locals say the train still tries to finish its journey. At exactly 2:17 a.m., on certain dates marked only in forgotten ledgers, the signal glows. If you listen carefully, you can hear it, the faint chug of an engine and the echo of wheels rolling on empty tracks. No one boards, no one disembarks, just a gust of cold wind, and sometimes a voice. A woman's voice, calling out for someone named Joseph. Always Joseph. Some visitors, unaware of the story, have taken photos near the platform during the red signal. When developed, their images reveal blurred silhouettes in the background, figures dressed in early 20th century attire. One photo, now locked in a private collector's vault, allegedly shows the full face of a woman looking directly at the camera, her eyes hollow, her skin cracked like old porcelain. Several attempts have been made to replace the malfunctioning signal system. Every time, the new equipment fails within days. Batteries drain without cause. Lights flicker in binary sequences, spelling out nonsensical codes, or prayers in forgotten dialects. One daring technician placed a motion sensor near the tracks. It triggered 27 times between 2:17 and 2:32 a.m., yet no one was there. Today, train conductors pass through Ella with quiet reverence. Many leave coins or tea leaves on the platform as offerings. Others refuse to look in the windows during the night run. But the red signal continues to glow when it shouldn't, pulsing like a heartbeat in the dark, warning travelers of a train that once died but still refuses to stop. Picture this. It's just past midnight at a fog-covered station deep in rural Bangladesh. The train is late. You're alone. Suddenly, the hiss of brakes breaks the silence, and a train, unmarked and ancient, rolls into the platform. No announcements, no conductor. Just open doors and a strange golden glow spilling from within. Would you board it? According to legend, this is the midnight boarding, a phantom train that appears only once a year, always at different stations, always just after midnight. Those who've seen it describe the same thing. A vintage locomotive, silent as a whisper, and coaches filled with people who don't blink. Their faces pale, eyes distant, clothing soaked as if pulled from the depths of a river. Here's the catch. If you board it, you vanish. Not forever, but for exactly 1 year. And when you return, you don't remember where you've been. You're just changed. Some come back mute. Others draw pictures of places they've never visited. A few whisper of endless tunnels and stations with no name, where clocks tick backward and no sun ever rises. But why does this matter now? Because the next sighting is predicted this very year, at a forgotten station near the Sundarbans. Paranormal researchers, thrill seekers, and skeptics are already preparing. Will someone finally capture proof? Or will the train take someone new? Now's the time to hit that like button if you've made it this far, because the next 4 stories will take you deeper than ever before. And trust us, you'll want to stick around. We're only just beginning to uncover the darkest secrets of South Asia's haunted rails. So ask yourself, what would you do if a train pulled at midnight and your name was on the list? High in the mist-drenched hills of Tamil Nadu, where the forests breathe with ancient secrets, the Nilgiri Mountain Railway cuts through the clouds like a silver blade. But nestled within this picturesque journey lies a tunnel, short, narrow, and soaked in whispers. Locals don't speak its name after dark. Travelers call it the Screaming Tunnel. At first glance, it seems harmless. A small passage carved through stone, no different from the dozens that lace this UNESCO heritage route. But once inside, things change. Temperature drops sharply, light bends strangely, and then the scream. High-pitched, human, but not quite. It begins as a whisper, then builds into a blood-curdling wail that echoes through the steel and stone, freezing even the bravest passengers in place. The railway workers know the tale well. They say the scream belongs to a young woman who once boarded the train to escape an arranged marriage. Her lover had promised to meet her, but never came. Heartbroken and trapped, she took her own life inside that tunnel, using the very scarf he gave her. Since that night, she has never truly left. Passengers sitting near the tunnel's entrance often report sudden pressure in their ears, as if descending into water. Some claim to hear footsteps on the roof, others smell burning fabric. Even cameras malfunction as trains pass through, leaving behind corrupted images and blank video frames. Engineers who've had to stop near the tunnel for repairs tell far worse tales of voices calling their names, unseen hands brushing past, and the overwhelming sense of being watched from the dark corners where even flashlights seem to fail. One technician in 1994 was found unconscious by his colleagues, curled in a fetal position near the exit. He never spoke again. The scream is always the same. It comes just before the train exits the tunnel, as if the spirit is reaching for one last chance to escape. Some say if you hear her cry and respond, if you so much as whisper back, you risk carrying her sorrow with you forever. That's why seasoned travelers plug their ears or chant mantras. Some even refuse to breathe until they're out. Despite countless exorcisms, pujas, and even a government-ordered cleansing ritual in 2003, the scream persists. No priest has dared sleep inside the tunnel, and not one has stayed longer than dusk. It's as if something inside knows how to hide and when to strike. The railway authorities deny the story, but unofficially, trains slow down as they approach the tunnel, not for safety, but respect. They say the dead deserve silence, especially the ones still crying for a love that never arrived. Imagine a train that departs with passengers, but never arrives. No wreckage, no survivors, not even a whisper on the wind. Just silence. Such is the legend of the vanishing train of Balochistan, a tale that chills the spine of anyone familiar with Pakistan's vast and desolate Makran region, where the tracks stretch like forgotten veins through a desert that doesn't forgive. The story begins in the late 1950s, during a time of post-partition restructuring. A passenger train was reportedly dispatched to test a newly laid route between Quetta and a now defunct outpost near the Iran border. It was supposed to be a simple journey, routine, uneventful, but it was anything but. The train, with a full crew and a handful of government officials aboard, departed on schedule. It never returned. Search parties were sent. The military scoured the route by air and land, but not a single bolt, not one splinter of wood or twisted piece of steel was ever found. The desert remained empty, unbothered, as if the train had never existed. Official reports were quietly closed. Relatives received vague letters. The line was abandoned. But the story didn't die. For years, nomads and shepherds told of strange lights flickering across the sands at night. Glowing wheels spinning silently in the distance. A distant whistle, soft, sorrowful, echoing through the rocks long after midnight. Some even claimed they saw the train, rusted, crawling across the horizon, only to vanish into thin air when approached. It became known as the ghost engine. There's a deeper layer to this mystery. Locals believe the train entered a cursed stretch of desert, land haunted by ancient spirits known as jinn, a region once ravaged by war, betrayal, and dark rituals. They say no machine can pass through it without consequence, that the train and those aboard were swallowed by the desert itself, or worse, taken to another realm entirely. Engineers who have tried to retrace the route report strange compass failures, dead radio signals, and hallucinations, like seeing a station platform appear and disappear in the mirage. One contractor even swore he saw a conductor waving at him from the dunes. When he blinked, there was only sand. In modern times, a few paranormal researchers have attempted to track the lost train using advanced tech, infrared drones, seismic sensors, even electromagnetic probes. None have succeeded. Batteries die, equipment malfunctions, GPS data becomes corrupted. It's as if the land itself rejects all efforts to uncover the truth. Today, the stretch between those forgotten outposts is untraveled, its rails buried beneath sand and time. But on certain moonless nights, travelers still report hearing the whistle of a long-lost train. If you follow it, be warned. Those who chase the ghost sometimes vanish too. In the velvet darkness of the Punjab plains, the Lahore Mail roars like a metallic beast through the night. But in one particular carriage, always the third from the engine, passengers whisper of shadows that move without source and icy fingers that trail down their necks when no one's behind them. This isn't just a ghost story. It's a warning passed from conductor to conductor. Never sit in carriage C3, especially if you're traveling alone. The haunting dates back to the partition era, a time soaked in sorrow and scarred by separation. Trains were then symbols of both hope and horror, carrying refugees across borders, but also becoming sites of unspeakable violence. One such carriage, ripped apart by chaos, was reportedly soaked in blood and burned before being salvaged, refurbished, and quietly reattached to the Lahore Mail years later. Since then, a string of incidents has shadowed this particular coach. People hear knocking from under their seats, but nothing is there. Blankets go missing, only to be found folded and soaked in water. Lights flicker in rhythmic patterns. Some say they're Morse code. Others claim it's an old soul trying to speak. Worst of all are the dreams. Passengers report vivid visions of drowning in flames, of running endlessly down narrow aisles as an unseen force follows. Railway authorities dismiss these tales, citing faulty wiring or suggestible minds. But the staff know better. Several conductors have resigned rather than be assigned to C3. A cleaning worker once entered alone during routine maintenance and ran out screaming, refusing to explain what he saw. He never returned to railway work again. Elders believe the coach carries the spirit of a woman separated from her child during a border crossing. She died clutching a locket, her last scream echoing through steel. To this day, passengers report seeing a pale figure standing near the lavatory, gently whispering lullabies to someone who isn't there. Her face is never seen, only her voice remains. Soft, mournful, eternal. Locals and seasoned travelers follow an unwritten rule. If your ticket says C3, switch it. Pay extra, bribe the guard, miss your train if you must. But do not ride that coach, especially on the night of August 15th, when the veil between past and present seems thinnest. That's the night the screams are loudest and the shadows feel heavier. Some journeys are haunted not by ghosts, but by memories so painful they refuse to rest. The Lahore Mail carries both. So the next time you board it, glance at your seat number. And if it's C3, you may want to reconsider. Because not every soul on that train has bought a ticket, and not all of them are leaving. It begins with a flicker of light on an abandoned platform. A cold breeze dances where no train has passed in decades. Welcome to Gunkadur, a sleepy station in West Bengal, India, where silence speaks louder than locomotives. For over 4 decades, trains refused to stop here, not because of politics or infrastructure, but because of something far more sinister, a ghost that made even the bravest conductors tremble. In 1967, a young railway station master arrived at Gunkadur to begin his post. A few weeks in, he and others reported seeing a woman in a white sari wandering the platform at night. Nothing unusual, until they noticed she had no face. Soon after, the station master was found dead under mysterious circumstances. Official records called it an accident. Locals whispered otherwise. They say the woman was a tribal girl who died on the tracks, crushed under the wheels of a speeding train. Her soul, unrested and angry, now haunts the very place where her life ended. Her ghost appears only at night, drifting along the tracks, sometimes vanishing through closed doors, sometimes staring straight into passengers' eyes from outside a moving train. Fear spread faster than the trains themselves. Railway staff refused to work night shifts. entire train schedules were altered to avoid Beguncador. It became a ghost station, literally. Over time, wild grass overtook the platforms, and the once busy signal house stood silent like a forgotten tomb. No official explanations were given, yet no one could deny the growing tales. For 42 years, the station remained shut. Locals avoided it even during the day. But in 2009, under pressure from villagers and politicians hoping to revive the town's economy, Indian Railways officially reopened Beguncador. Lights were installed, tracks repaired, trains scheduled again. Yet the fear never truly left. Passengers now report odd occurrences, malfunctioning electronics, sudden fogs, voices through speakers no longer connected. Some say they've seen her, still in white, still faceless, walking alongside moving trains. Others claim to hear her sobbing in empty cabins. Railway workers leave offerings on the tracks, flowers, incense, whispered prayers, not out of tradition, but survival. What keeps the legend of Beguncador alive isn't just superstition. It's the consistency. Generation after generation has its story. No one stays at the station after dark, and even the brave who travel through it carry one rule in their heart: never look out the window after midnight. If you do, and you lock eyes with her, you may never return whole.